My boyfriend, 28 male, had come to me when I, 25 female, was heartbroken. He made me love again, and for that I was grateful to him. He saved me from my despair, but the price for that salvation was me and my heart. Don't get me wrong, I love my boyfriend willingly, not out of compulsion. He was fit, tall, and handsome, financially buoyant, empathetic, and caring. He had everything a woman needed, and that was the problem. He was too perfect. Call it an inferiority complex or whatever you want, but his perfection was choking me. Who needed a boyfriend who seldomly got mad and never raised his voice? Imagine a boyfriend who could perfectly interpret his girlfriend's silence. In our 2 years together, we only quarreled twice, and those 2 times, he had been the one to apologize to me, even though I had intentionally perpetrated the misunderstanding. It was hard to believe that I was the third girl he had dated. He acted like a man with 100 years of experience in dating. That was why my mom and sisters loved him and were rooting for our relationship to lead to marriage. My mom would always advise me to hold on to him, that if I lost him, I would never get a man like him. My sisters also supported her advice. They all made me feel like I was worth nothing, and he was the one who added value to my life. I was angry at them all, including my boyfriend, so I resorted to changing him. I threw in some crazy attitude, and soon he knew I was troubled. He asked me what I wanted, and I told him. He received my demands with calmness and agreed to change for my sake. He asked for my guidance on how to acquire the rough edges I needed him to have. It was hectic work for me as I had to work on his clothing styles and hobbies. The good thing was that the change was eliciting the desired reaction from everyone who knew my boyfriend. Some of them even came to ask what was going on with him, but I acted like I had no hand in it. The hardest part of the transition was his cool attitude. We tried all we could, but his cool personality remained unruffled despite my best efforts. I soon got fed up with my remodeling project. I confided in my best friend, 27 female. Though she was a widow, she had shared a happy 5-year relationship with her husband despite their contrasting personalities. She empathized with me about my hardship and assured me that I didn't need to break up with my boyfriend. She told me I was lucky to have him. She suggested I get a human detox. She recommended a guy who matched my needs. He was rude, he had an irritating playboy personality, and he seemed to think his body was a canvas meant to be filled with tattoos. We fixed a rendezvous, but he didn't care about pleasantries or introduction, and I was glad he didn't. I didn't want to share my personal information with someone who looked like a thug. At that point, I realized how lucky I was to have a better man as a boyfriend. I was going to leave without getting down to the deed, but I stayed put. We went to bed together, and after the intimate session, I was glad I didn't leave. And so we began an affair. What started as a one-night stand turned into an infinite tryst. Believe me when I say having 2 contrasting guys in my life was one of the best feelings ever. The thrill and the fear of getting caught all added to the enjoyment. My best friend who introduced me to the idea suddenly began to act up. Every time we met up, she would plead with me to stop what I was doing. That if it ever got out, it would hurt my boyfriend. I kept assuring her that he would never find out. My human detox lived in a ghetto on the other side of the city where no one knew me, and that was where we always had our trysts, so how would words get out? I got my answer 2 months later. I was returning from a business trip when I was summoned home by my mom. She ordered me to come home urgently, as everyone including my boyfriend and my best friend was waiting for me there. I arrived home to meet the biggest shock of my life. My secret lover was comfortably seated in our living room. My best friend had told my boyfriend all about my little secret, and so he foolishly thought my family needed to know about my little deed as if I was a little child. He brought my lover to testify against me. Everything was bearable until my best friend sanctimoniously claimed she had never supported my illicit behavior and that she had tried to talk me out of it. She even broke down in tears as she apologized to my boyfriend for being unlucky by dating me. My mom and my sisters joined in the crying thingamajig. Everyone was blaming me, calling me heartless and ruthless. My mom kept telling me I would rot in regret. They said all these while consoling my boyfriend, as if he was their family instead of me. It hurt, but I put it aside and tried to reason with my boyfriend. I assured him that I still loved him dearly and had not meant to hurt him. He just didn't have the rough edges I wanted, and I was tired of pushing him to change for my sake, so I got a boy toy. My boyfriend was devastated. For the first time since I knew him, he raised his voice. He yelled at me for coming into his life and ruining it, and for breaking his heart despite how hard he tried to please me. He kept screaming at me even when I promised to let go of my affair for his sake. I begged my mom to intervene and make him understand why I did what I did, but she cussed at me. Why was no one siding with me? Why did they believe my best friend and a stranger over me? I was bristling with rage as I stormed out of the house to never return. What use was a family when they couldn't stand by me in times of difficulty? 6 months later, I was scrolling down my newsfeed on Facebook when I saw a post from my boyfriend. Shocked that he had suddenly unblocked me, I checked his timeline only to find pre-wedding pictures of him and my best friend. The caption contained the date and location of the wedding. I kept telling myself it was a lie. I refused to believe it unless I witnessed the wedding myself. I showed up at their wedding, prepared to list out 1,000 reasons why the wedding should not hold, but my boyfriend beat me to it. He was outside the hall waiting for me when I arrived, and for a minute I thought he had come to beg me, but I was wrong. He called me a shameless infidel who dared to show my cursed face at his wedding. Then he instructed the security officers to take me out. As I was being ushered out, I heard him telling those present about how I cheated on him. Then I decided to forgive him and keep an open mind, knowing he would come back to beg me. He was just hurting and would come back when he was better. Story 2. I need to get something off my chest, and for obvious reasons, I'm using a throwaway account. My boyfriend and I have been having problems for a while. We've been together since high school, and he's the only person I've ever been with. Lately, I've been feeling like he doesn't want me anymore. I've tried to dress up, initiate sex, and get him in the mood, but nothing seems to work. I've been considering getting into the sugar dating world to see what it's like, but he made it clear that he wasn't comfortable with me having sex with other men. I respected his wishes, but ended up doing it anyway. I don't feel guilty about it because I love him, and I know that it was just physical. It didn't mean anything emotionally to me. It's strange because I thought I would feel guilty, but I don't. In a way, it has even helped me to be more honest with him about how I feel and how much I love him. We're currently in a long-distance relationship, and that has been adding to the tension between us. I don't want to end things, but I do like the idea of exploring and seeing what else is out there. I wish he would be open to the idea of an open relationship, because I'm able to separate emotions from sex. I know that's not something that everyone can do, but it's something that works for me. I'm not sure if that makes me a bad person or not, but I just had to get this off my chest. I don't feel guilty, and I'd be perfectly fine with never telling him about it. The thing is, he's been trying to make things better too. He's been working out, eating better, and going to the doctor to try to improve his sex drive. I'm not sure what this means for us, but I needed to talk about it with someone. Edit. In my own words, I tried to talk to my partner about my feelings of wanting to cheat and suggested going to therapy together to work on our issues. However, he didn't seem to care and dismissed it as my problem. Later on, we got into an argument that led to me explaining that to me, having sex without emotions was similar to performing any other physical activity like running or walking. I didn't have any previous experience with it outside of my partner, so I didn't know how it would feel. But without any emotional connection, it was just a meaningless act. Comments. So if I understand correctly, your partner expressed discomfort with you being sexually involved with other men, but you still went ahead and did it without his knowledge while you were in a long-distance relationship and he was experiencing a low sex drive. If you believe that emotions and sex can be easily separated, This situation should be concerning for you. If you are committed to your partner, it is important to communicate about your sexual needs rather than acting behind their back when they are unable to fulfill them. Did you consider asking your partner about the reason for his low sex drive? To be honest, your actions were a serious mistake. You knew exactly what you were doing when you tried this sugaring thing. I mean, to me, that's cheating without the sex, anyways. You're trying to cope by making this post. Just leave the guy. I don't think you actually love him. You're just afraid to be alone.